Možemo da počnemo, ja vas molim samo da vrata zatvori neko. Hvala. Ja vam želim svima dobar dan i dobrodošli u Medija centar u Čaglavici. Današnju debatu na temu Prisustvo Evropske unije na Kosovu organizuje Medija centar uz podršku finske kancelarije u Prištini. Imam posebno zadovoljstvo da pozdravim naše današnje goste koji će odgovarati na vaša pitanja. Gospodina Petera Fejta, specijalnog predstavnika Evropske unije koji predstavlja političku posvećenost Evropske unije prema Kosovu. Poseban pozdrav gospodinu Renzu Davidiju, šefu Kancelarije za vezu Evropske komisije. Evropska komisija, kao što znate, ima ulogu realizacije posvećenosti Evropske unije na Kosovu. Rukovodi značajnom podrškom projektima za jačanje institucija, razvija ekonomiju i realizuje evropski standard. Također usmerava reforme kroz redovne zakone i tehnički dijalog, kao i nadzor napretka Kosova. Pozdravljam i gospodina Ivdekera Mabona, šefa misije EULEX-a na Kosovu. Misija EULEX, kao što znate, ima operativni mandat Evropske unije na Kosovu. To je misija vladavine zakona za razvoj i jačanje nezavisnog i multietničkog pravnog sistema na Kosovu. EULEX vrši nadgledanje i savjetovanje vlasti na Kosovu, a u isto vreme zadržava ograničenu izvršnu vlast u oblasti vladavine zakona. Ovo je bilo kratko predstavljanje. Na početku ćemo čuti uvodna izlaganja gospode iz Evropske unije, koji će nam, ja bih zamolila ako može da bude to u 5 minuta, pošto novinara ima jako puno. Prvo ćemo da čujemo gospodina Petera Fejta, specijalnog izaslanika Evropske unije. Izvolite, gospodine Fejt.
Hvala, madam. Dobar dan. Thank you very much for your introductory kind words and for the opportunity you offer us to explain the position of the European Union presences here in Kosovo. I am the European Union Special Representative, and I think it would be appropriate if I would start off by reminding you of my main functions, that is to provide the European Union's advice on the political processes here in Kosovo, and secondly to coordinate with, in particular, the European Commission liaison office here with Renzo Davidi and with the head of mission of the EULEX mission here, Yves de Kermarbon, on how to move forward. I would like to say that we all are working, the three of us, towards Kosovo's European perspective, that is Kosovo moving closer towards the European institutions. For that, clearly, certain requirements will have to be met, and in particular, we have identified that the area of the rule of law is a weakness that we would like to offer support for, and that is the rationale behind the intention to deploy the EULEX mission. But Renzo will be more articulate in explaining to you the efforts undertaken by the Commission in providing technical assistance, financial assistance, and by advising the government on how to prepare itself, the institutions, Kosovo, for coming closer to the European institutions. We are working as part of a perspective that goes for the whole region, not only for Kosovo. We think that as a European Union we have a particular role to play in enhancing stability in the region, and therefore the perspective that has been opened for Kosovo has also been opened for neighboring countries, in particular Serbia and others. We in particular think that regional cooperation in the areas of trade, economic cooperation, transport, power transmission are important for stability and for realizing the European perspective that I mentioned. Membership of the European Union later on will bring important benefits to Kosovo citizens and to citizens in the region. But let's be clear, a lot of progress has to be made, a lot of work has to be undertaken to make sure that we are there, in particular in the areas of improving economic conditions, human rights, institutional reform and capacity building. I would also like to say that we are facing challenges, and we are ready to discuss these if you would like to know more about them. The main challenges, as I see them, is twofold at this stage, because we are working towards a multi-ethnic society. One of the challenges is certainly that we need to engage the minority communities in Kosovo, in particular the Serb community. The second challenge, and Yves de Camerbon will answer your questions on that one, is to deploy the EULEX mission throughout Kosovo in all parts of the territory. With those words, I would like to conclude. I appreciate very much, once again, the opportunity to come here to Čaklavica, to talk to media representatives, and I hope we can have a constructive discussion. That being said, maybe I can hand over to one of my colleagues.
Hvala lepo. Hvala lepo, gospodine Fejt. Gospodine Davidi, izvolite vi.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I also am extremely happy to be here in Čaklavica today to discuss together with my colleagues, USR and head of the EULEX mission, at the EU perspective of Kosovo. I think this is the fact that we are here as the EU family underlines the European Union commitment to Kosovo and is a sign of our good cooperation on the ground. As you know, Commissioner Rehn, the Commissioner for Enlargement, visited Kosovo last week, and I think he reiterated a very clear message that the Commission works towards realizing Kosovo clear European perspective in line with the European perspective of the rest of the region. I think this is not just empty talk, but is a position which is matched by credible and tangible initiative, political and technical dialogues, support to sectorial reforms, progress monitoring, regional integration, and substantial financial assistance. I think these are the ingredients of our support to the partners throughout the region, including, of course, Kosovo. My office, the European Commission Liaison Office, has an important role to play in order to implement this policy together with the local authorities and our colleagues of the European Union family, the other two which are represented here, and the member states which are not represented here in this particular case. Let me say a few words more in detail of some of the points I was mentioning earlier on. When it comes to policy dialogue, I think the Commission engaged systematically in regular policy and technical dialogue with the Kosovo authorities. This is already taking place for a few years now. And the discussion is very much based on EU approximation process. Over the course of the year, we have had one big policy gathering discussion, the so-called SAP tracking mechanism plenary session, and then we have a number of technical meetings. In fact, at the rhythm of about one every month on sectorial and more technical aspects. We expect to have another big STM meeting in November when we will be discussing the progress report. The progress report is, as you probably know, a very important report for the Commission as part of the so-called enlargement package. The European Union, the European Commission is publishing a report on all candidates and potential candidate countries and on countries of the region, plus Turkey, of course. And as you know, this year there will be, as already for several years, a progress report on Kosovo. I cannot, of course, disclose what is the content of the reports, but this we can discuss at the beginning of November when we will present in a more articulated manner our findings. This is clearly an important activity for us, but I think Kosovo is a small place, and as such, I think needs very much regular regional integration for its development. In this respect, the Commission is one of the institutions that fosters participation in regional integration and Europe-wide initiatives, some of which have been launched by the Commission itself. Just think of the Energy Community Treaty, the Common Aviation Area, and other programs that are the Transport Treaty that is going to be open soon. In addition, in the particular context of Kosovo, as you know, last summer, in July, to be more precise, we have organized a donors conference for Kosovo to meet the economic and social challenges that Kosovo has ahead of it. And this was a fairly well-attended and successful event where donors pledged 1.2 billion euros for meeting these particular challenges. Let me draw your attention to the fact that a very large chunk of this money is going to come from European taxpayer money. We are talking about over 500 million euros, which is the budget of the European Union, which is administered by the European Commission, by our office. And on top of this, if we add the bilateral contribution of the member states, we reach about 700 million. So this is a very substantial contribution. When it comes to the Commission work in implementing this assistance, as you know, in the presence of Commissioner Rehn, we signed last week the financing agreement for IPA 2008. The instrument of pre-accession is the instrument which is devoted to implement a number of projects, both in terms of infrastructure intervention, but also in terms of institution building that should support Kosovo approximation towards Europe. And I think here there are a very large number of projects. If there is interest, we can get into the details, but in any case, a lot of those details are in our website. That will be supporting a large variety of things, ranging from civil society, strengthening the rural role, the preservation of cultural heritage, and some infrastructural intervention at the municipal level and Kosovo-wide nature. Let me, however, in conclusion, to draw your attention to a couple of important points. I don't think that assistance is not only a way of underpinning our policy dialogue and EU reform. Our financial assistance is very important because it helps to create good conditions for all citizens of Kosovo. And I think this is very important to stress for all citizens of Kosovo. And let me close by underlining that coming closer to Europe is not just an administrative exercise. Coming closer to Europe is also something that means creating the conditions for a safe and prosperous life for everybody here. Thank you very much and looking forward to your questions.
Hvala lepo, gospodine Davidi. Gospodine Kermabon, izvolite.
Thank you very much, and good morning, everybody. I think I would first thank you for this initiative. I think it's a very good one, because we could have a better understanding of what we are doing here in Kosovo and a better understanding with you to determine exactly what is the situation. And I think a good cooperation with the media and the journalists is always a good thing, as usual. So let me say first of all that EUX is a rule of law mission, as you know, decided by the 27 EU member states in February through a joint action, which is a legal basis document for this mission. Once again, as I said, agreed by the 27 member states. And through the UN Section decision of reconfiguration of international community here in Kosovo, working under 1244, and with the aim to deploy Kosovo-wide. I think this is, has to be very clearly said from the beginning. It means that this mission has a clear EU identity and a clear EU chain of command, but working with these two legal bases, 1244 and EU joint action. My second point is to say once again that this mission is a technical mission for all the communities and for the whole population here in Kosovo. We want to achieve the settlement of a peaceful and democratic society needed for the stability in the region. Everybody and all the communities must be able to rely on a strong rule of law mission and to have access to the police, to the justice, to the customs. It means, in concrete terms, freedom of movement, unrestricted access to justice, impartial trials, and security for the whole population of Kosovo, security being the key to good living standards and economic development. The prosecution and adjudication of serious crimes and the handling of conflict-related property claims is also essential to the peaceful development of Kosovo multi-ethnic society. It ensures equal treatment of all ethnic communities in Kosovo, establish legal certainty with respect to property and housing, and encourage the return of displaced persons. And to conclude, my third point will be to explain that the deployment of UX is, by the time being ongoing, in close consultation and cooperation with UNMIC in order to soft this deployment and to avoid any security gap. By the time being, we have approximately 500 international officers already deployed and 200 local staff. And we expect to be operational and start implementing our mandate from beginning December. Thank you very much for your attention, and I'm ready also to answer your questions.
I recite ime medijske kuće i predstavite se.
Ardanović, Radio Television of Kosovo. Mr. Davidi said that our presence here shows our commitment, and this is usually said by European officials visiting or with mission here in the country. Now, we know that, but by your presence here, you can either make it attractive or you could impose your presence here, knowing that there are some opposing your presence here by the Serbian community especially. How could you make attractive? Like, did you have any project lately in the northern part of Kosovo? And if yes, could you talk about numbers? Could you talk about how big the project was and was it welcomed by the community there? Thanks.
Izvolite.
I guess this is a question for me. Okay, I mean, a couple I mean, it's a wide question. The first one is that I like to say, and I've said it in a number of occasions, that the European Commission is going to stay here probably for the rest of the life, 300 years or even more. Even when a country becomes a member state, as you know, our office just changed the nomination, becomes a representative office inside the member states. So in this respect, our vision is definitely a vision which is a long-term vision. It's something which is not driven by short-term interest and motivation. So that's to put things in perspective. The second aspect of your question, I think we are trying to make it attractive, but of course it's important that the authorities, the citizens themselves are committed towards a process of European integration. Is a two-way street. It's not certainly something which is only for us to propose. We are proposing. We more or less give a fairly clear prescriptions or what are the requirements. This is a process that has been going on for more than 50 years now. It's a process that in the last 10, 15 years have brought into the European Union a large number of countries coming from a tradition or with some institutional features, if you want, that are similar to the one prevailing in the regions, transition economics, coming out of a particular political system, etc. And the requirements are very clear. Copenhagen criteria, the way in which we move towards that, and we put quite a lot of effort and support, both in terms of our policy dialogue and in terms of our financial support to make this happening. Our assistance is not going to be program on the basis of geographical criteria. The idea is that assistance is spread all over Kosovo. But of course there are a number of projects which may benefit particular community or particular area. There are very concrete examples. For instance, we are very much moving into the promoting the water treatment plant in the case of Mitrovica, which is an example of a project that has clearly incredibly benefit implications for all citizens of the living in Mitrovica, both in the south and in the north. We know that there is a massive problem of water supply, and this is one of the ways in which we think this can be solved. There are initiatives in terms of our infrastructural development at the municipal level. Quite a lot of stuff has already been ongoing under CARDS, and there are quite a lot of things that are programmed under IPA, both 2007 and 2008. There is a major idea that we have put on the table and is now moving quite fast in terms of the local development agency, which are clusters of expertise that will bring together different actors and different institutions at the local level in order to promote local economic development. I can continue, but I don't want to monopolize the debate, but I'm ready to get into more detail if necessary.
Ja sam slučajno došao danas na Kosovo i uzeo sam ovaj propagandni materijal. I vidim, piše u njemu da je EULEX raspoređen na severu Kosova, na celoj teritoriji Kosova. Pa bih vas zamolio da mi onako objasnite gdje se to nalazi kancelarija EULEX-a na severu Kosova i kad je to na severu raspoređena misija. Pitanje je za gospodina Kermabona, pošto to u opisu njegovom stoji ovamo na kraju. Ali bih vas uz to i pitao, od juče, da li je EULEX samo misija Evropske unije, pošto je od juče, koliko je meni poznato, su i Sjedinjene Američke Države dobile zeleno svetlo da postanu članica EULEX-a. I šta bi, to je pitanje za Fejta, a za vas, gospodine Kermabon, ovdje na Balkanu postoji neki red, kažu da posle 100 dana se podnese izvještaj i kaže to i to smo učinili, to i to nismo učinili. Šta su to problemi koje ste vi evidentirali i koji su to rezultati koje biste istakli kao neki uspeh tokom te dosadašnje misije?
Izvolite. Prvo gospodin Fejt. Prvo pitanje bilo za gospodine...
Okay, thank you very much for this question. I think there is two main parts in your question. The first about where is EUX in the northern Kosovo. I said a few minutes ago that EUX is deployment phase by the time being. So we are not acting, and we expect to be operational and start implementing our mandate from beginning December. It means that by the time being, UNMIK is in charge with the Kosovo government, and we are not acting. So your second question concerning the European characteristics of the mission due to the fact that we have some American peoples on board, it's very simple. The 20 member states decide this mission, and through some agreement, some third states could participate also to the mission. It means that we have not only the 27 member states, but we have 6 other countries participating to the mission, among which USA, but also Turkey, Norway, Switzerland, Croatia, and Canada.
Hvala lepo. Idemo dalje.
Can I go? Mr. Krmabo, you said that you want to be operational on Arbanamete Kosovo Daily newspaper. You said that you want to be operational on December. It's a vacations month. How effective you can be? And the second question regarding the deployment. When you will be deployed, does the operational on December means that you will be deployed even in North?
Okay, so the deployment, as I said, is ongoing. We have 500 people and 200 local staff, and we have welcoming every week between 80 or 100 people a week in order to welcome them, to give them the possibility to settle and to receive induction training in order to know exactly what is the mission and how we can work together. This is the first point. The second point, to answer your question, is that, as I said at the beginning, and it's always like this, nothing has changed. The end state of EUX is to be deployed Kosovo-wide. It has been stressed several times by the 27 member states and by Mr. Serena himself when he came here in February. So we will be ready on a technical point of view beginning of December. And this is the reason why I said we expect to fulfill our mandate from this date. It's possible due to some technical issue and maybe some political ones also that at this time we cannot be fully operational, but we will start our mandate beginning of December.
Stojan Jovanović, zapisnik Vete. Možda gospodin Kermabon ili gospodin Fejt, ko nađe za shodno da odgovori. Misija EULEX se suočava sa velikim problemima. Srbi su jasno rekli da je EULEX neprihvatljiv bez odgovarajuće rezolucije Saveta bezbednosti. Od nedavno i Albanci preko samoopredeljenja šalju određenu poruku EULEX-u. Ja imam jedno, pre svega lično pitanje. Nije mi jasno, ako je misija EULEX toliko dobra, kako vi tvrdite, zašto nije praćena rezolucijom Ujedinjenih nacija i da bude prihvatljivo, recimo, bar za Srbiju, bar jedan deo tih problema da eliminišete.
Izvolite.
Okay, I would like to answer to a question only on the technical point of view, because I am not in charge of the political environment. And I would like to avoid any confusion or misunderstanding. I think first, EUX, as I said, is a technical mission. The aim of this mission is to provide the Kosovo population, and probably mainly the minorities and the Serbian one, good guarantees concerning the rule of law. That means individual rights, freedom of movement, property, etc. So I think in this understanding, it's a win-win at UX. And to be able to rely on this very good European expert coming here to bring their experience and their skill and to assist, because the concept of UX is through monitoring, mentoring, and advising, to give freedom and responsibility to the local institution and the local stakeholder, because local ownership and accountability are keywords for this mission. So the fact that by the time being there are still some misunderstanding needs to be tackled and addressed, and it's a reason why this sort of meeting is very good, because we can explain what is UX, what is the aim of UX. This is my technical answer. On the political side, there is conversation and discussion ongoing between the EU and between Serbia by the time being on UX, but it's not my responsibility to give a personal assessment on this point.
Maybe I should follow up on this with a few further clarifications. As Yves has said, there are further consultations between the European Union and Belgrade, as well as with New York, with the United Nations. And the point I would like to make is that there is still a possibility that some form of a UN approval can be obtained. We don't think that this is strictly necessary, because the EU-LEX mission can move forward in accordance with Resolution 1244. But if there is consensus in the Security Council on a presidential statement or some other form of consent, that would be, of course, a desirable outcome. You are aware that there are differences among members of the Council, so I don't think it is easy to predict or to prejudge the outcome of these further consultations. But I would like to sort of correct your assessment that there is no further UN approval on this. This is still possible. And as Yves has said, the deployment will take place and the mission will take place in the context of Resolution 1244 and under the authority of the United Nations.
Fatmelio Coordinator, a question for Mr. Kermabon and Mr. Feith. First to General Kermabon. Will you in any way, shape or form deploy in the northern Kosovo without the firm approval and green light from Belgrade, sir? I mean, it's a yes or no question if you want. And for Mr. Feith, you're very optimistic, well, you sound optimistic when you say that at Security Council we may see some presidential statement pass. But does that optimism, is it really realistic that we may really see a presidential statement or any kind of resolution, although it's a pending issue since 2006 and ongoing? How realistic is that it may really happen in there, sir? Thank you very much.
Izvolite.
So first, I continue to stress the fact that our end state is to deploy Kosovo wine. Second point, we will not deploy by force. Obviously, it will not be very efficient, and so we need to deploy the mission by convincing people that it's a win-win process and the interest of everybody to have a UX on board, particularly concerning the situation, current situation in northern Kosovo. Yes?
You will deploy without the constant Belgrade.
My answer is yes. We are technically ready, and we need probably still some political work to be able to deploy.
I don't need to repeat what I said. I'm not particularly optimistic. I'm not speculating on the outcome of consultations in New York. What I'm saying is if it would lead to some form of Security Council, the members of the Security Council coming together on the desirability and the well-foundedness of EULEX performing its mission here in Kosovo, that would be a desirable outcome. If it's not going to happen, it will not stop EULEX from moving forward.
Excuse me. Përpari mi Sufi from Zurich.
Ok, kolega ima probleme, idemo dalje. Prvo da vidimo ko nije postavljao pitanja. Ti si bio? Ili ima neko ko...
Jasmina Stojković, televizija Most RTS. Peter, na koji način vi, da li me sada čujete? Pitanje za Petera. Na koji način vi mislite da ubedite srpsku zajednicu da prihvati misiju EULEX? Ali konkretno nam to recite. Da li će to biti politički pritisci, finansijski? Pretpostavljam da imate neki projekat ili kako to planirate da izvedete. Ili ćete se zadovoljiti nekim marionetama, kao što je bio slučaj sa privremenim kosovskim institucijama, i da to po vama bude dovoljno da možete da kažete evo, Srbi su prihvatili misiju. Hvala.
Gospodine Fejt.
Well, I think I should also pass over to Yves in replying to this question. Clearly, this is a process that goes bottom up and top down. Bottom up because we think that together with the European Commission, with the expertise of the rule of law mission, we can provide huge benefits to the communities here in Kosovo. And I think secondly that there is in certain areas of Kosovo there is a need to strengthen the rule of law, in particular in the north. I think this is well recognized, not only in Kosovo, but even in Serbia, I would submit. So that is a process that we want to further articulate through our public information campaigns. And this is an opportunity today here in Čagljevica to tell you something about our intentions in this regard. And then there is the top-down thing. Clearly, we need the cooperation of Belgrade because the Kosovo Serb community looks to Belgrade for guidance on how to safeguard its way of living, its interest here. And that is, in many ways, legitimate. But we are now, and this is what I said in my introductory remarks, we are now looking for the type of positive response that we think should come at this point in time, and that will enable Yves' intention to materialize, to launch the mission.
Say a word on this, just to reiterate the European perspective. I mean, both Kosovo and Serbia are part and parcels of the same process, which is the process of European integration. The perspective of integrating is open clearly to all the countries of the Western Balkans. There is a process that is ongoing now for several years. As I was saying in my introduction, there are a certain number of conditions, including some political criteria, that needs to be respected. I don't think that the country that wants to be part of this process and want to be member of the European Union at some stage cannot disregard a number of criteria, which are fundamental criteria. So in this respect, I would say there is a common interest to try to find forms of dialogue on very important issues like the one that are we discussing here today.
I will not come back on the top-down process because it was very clearly expressed. On the bottom-up, you know what is the situation here concerning the police, the justice, and the customs. I think to improve the Kosovo population daily life and to give this opportunity to everybody to have a better rule of law situation, which is the basis of a democratic society, which is the basis of a better daily life, to allow better economy, and so we can bring with this mission, once again, a lot of guarantees. We'll bring here very good experts, judge, magistrate, prosecutor, police officer, customs officer, with a lot of experience, which could help a lot the Kosovo population to improve this rule of law. So I think, once again, on a technical point of view, it's really, I think, a very good win-win process for the population. And thinking to the situation Kosovo-wide, and some part of Kosovo I know relatively well, I can affirm here that a lot of people is expecting and willing to improve this rule of law situation, expecting EULEX helping them in the Albanian side for sure, but also in the different minority. And I remind very well here, few weeks ago, some Serbian people speaking about EULEX and expecting EULEX could help us in the current situation today.
Nikola Bešović, za gospodina Fejta i gospodina Kermabona. Dakle, Nikola Bešović za gospodina Fejta i gospodina Kermabona. Kolege su iznele pola problema kad je u pitanju neslaganje države Srbije sa pristupom EULEX-a. Druga polovina je ono što gospodin Kermabon naziva tehničkim pristupom. Dakle, Srbija se protivi primjeni zakona iz plana gospodina Ahtisarija. Dakle, da li je o tome bilo reči na vašim konsultacijama u Briselu i u Njujorku i da li će neki drugi paket biti primenjeni kad je u pitanju sve ono što gospodin Kermabon kaže da će EULEX pružiti na Kosovu. I sljedeće pitanje je to, pošto uključujete Amerikance, Turke, Kanađane i ne znam koga još u EULEX, da li će onda EULEX da se zove World Lex ili West World Lex ili ne znam kako bi se zvao u tom slučaju. Znači, da li svetski zakon, zapadno-svetski zakon ili ne znam već kakav zakon.
Hvala. Izvolite. Dobre.
I think I should be very clear on this. EULEX has a mandate that has been approved by the Council of the European Union. We can, and I'm sure that General de Kermabon is ready to explain to you or to the government of Serbia what the mandate entails, but it has been approved by the Council of the European Union, it is not negotiable, and it is not open to interpretation. I think that is an answer to your first question. On your second question, EULEX is a European Union-led operation with participation of third states, as has been explained before. So the command and control lies with the European Union, and that is what explains the abbreviation EU with the two first letters of E and U in the name of the mission.
Okay, I know that we are facing still a lot of difficult issues. But to solve this issue, we need to work with everybody, and probably mainly with the Serbian institution, in order to clarify this issue, to work with them on a technical level. So I have often said, and I repeat today, that I am absolutely ready to go in Belgrade or to welcome some Serbian people, to speak with them on a technical point of view, in order to know how we can work in the interest of the Serbian minority here in Kosovo.
From Zori. It's a good reason to quit smoking. So, Mr. Faith, how do you consider latest recognitions that Kosovo gained from Macedonia, Montenegro, and last night from United Arab Emirates? And do you expect more recognitions to come after that? I
quit smoking long ago, so. but I'm not going to speak for very long on your question because this is really an opportunity to explain to you the European Union positions. And as far as the European Union is concerned, recognition is a matter for each individual state. We have no further observations to make. I have no further observations to make as a representative of the European Union on this process. If I were to make observation as an international civilian representative, I will do that, but I will do that at another occasion so as to make clear what my responsibilities are and what they are not.
The last time, should I introduce Ertika? The last time we were here, at least I was here for the last time, and having European Parliament Rapporteur, Mr. Joost Lagendijk. And to me, he was a little bit confused in whether especially EULEX was meant for the independent Kosovo or just for Kosovo, no matter what its political status is. Now, as far as I know, I might be wrong, but as far as I know, both of your missions were meant to come here and be up and running, as Mr. Faith usually says, after Kosovo Assembly declares independence. Did that change, or that's still valid today?
You mean the EULEX mission and the ICO? Well, let's first start with the EULEX mission. And
Now the answer is very clear. Once again, EULEX is not a political mission; it's a technical mission. So for me, the picture is very clear. We are working under 1244 and with the European Joint Action as a technical mission, and not being in charge of the political environment.
the ICO has started its mission, as you know, so I don't need to explain that any further. Next question, please.
Za vas obojicu. Imate li bilo posredne, bilo neposredne kontakte sa Beogradom? Ili sa bilo kojim od lidera iz Beograda?
Izvolite.
Do you have contacts with Belgrade or you don't have?
I have no contacts with Belgrade. I have no direct contacts. I have no direct contacts with Belgrade.
I can answer the same. I have no direct contact with Belgrade. By the time being.
Well, me again, gentlemen. I'm interested. I'm interested to know from Mr. Davidi and from three of you actually. Is the European Union willing to import in its family a new crisis, or a country which has a crisis in itself with its neighbors, as was the case, for instance, with Cyprus? And now I'm talking about Serbia. Will Serbia be integrated into your European Union with having not recognized Kosovo, sir? Thank you.
Interesting question. I think if we look at it from the point of view of timing, is perhaps a question which is a little bit down the road, and in a sense we might answer this question when we get there, or we will cross the bridge when we get to the bridge. But I don't like avoiding answering in a more articulated manner. I think the situation of the last enlargement has certainly taught European Union lessons. I think it's an important issue to reflect on this. And I think that some of those considerations will certainly be taken into account if and when the moment will arrive. Just to put the record straight, of course, Serbia is not the only country of the region which has problems in terms of its border dispute. As you know, there are other candidate countries which are more or less even more advanced in the process of accession towards European Union that remain with major border disputes that in all likelihood would need to be resolved at some stage before the entry into force of the treaty that will make them countries, member states.
Mr. Fate, a short position in ISR position, in fact, a short question, I mean. Is it everything okay with Atisari's package, taking in consideration the way how EULEX is being deployed? It will be functioned under 1244 resolution.
I don't really understand your question. Is everything okay with the Atisari package?
Atisari's package, taking in consideration the way how will EULEX function?
Well, I'm speaking as an international civilian representative now, not as an EU special representative. Everything is okay with the Atisari package. Mr. Atisari has won the Nobel Prize for Peace. And maybe I think that should be an occasion for people to take another look at his proposals, because maybe there is something in it that a Nobel Prize winner has articulated better than anybody else has thought. So it's perhaps a reason to look again at the proposals. EULEX is a technical mission. Their mandate, as we have said, has been decided by the Council of the European Union, and General de Camerbon can explain it in the best way possible to anybody who would be interested in it.
Ja bih se zahvalila gospodi iz Evropske unije. Nadam se da su neka pitanja razjašnjena. Hvala svima vama i hvala ljudima iz kancelarija ICO-a, EULEX-a i Evropske komisije koji su nam pomogli u organizaciji. Doviđenja svima.